It's a Saturday. It's 11 o'clock again. Welcome to Badminton Talk podcast, brought to you by My Mobile Badminton Shop and sponsored by, of course, the Q Shuttle. Hiya, Mark. How are you doing today?
Hey, John. I'm doing great. Thank you very much. And what about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. We've got something special for our listeners today, Mark. Yeah?
Yeah, special guest. Very interesting. You want to introduce them?
Yeah, a very special guest. This is time to get going with our interview with a very special guest. Yeah, we, Mark and myself, caught up with this special guest a couple of weeks ago now, since we've done it, and we're going to let our listeners all over the world, and down under as well, that's giving you a little bit of a clue, to listen to us introducing our special guest. Okay, it's early morning in Europe and in Dublin, Ireland, where we're recording this podcast. But it's also early evening in Australia, where our next guest is talking to us from. So good day, if I can say, to all our listeners. We have a former top 10 player in the world, a British Olympian, educated at the University of Bath in the United Kingdom, and also went to the university in Leicester. This person's from Wales, and our next guest has played in the 2000 and 2004 Summer Olympics and won a bunch load of Badminton World Federation tournaments during the period, in particular 1998 to 2006. He also made the last 16 in the All England on 4 occasions: 2001, 2002, 2004 and 2007. How about that for a start, Mark?
Wow, John, just spectacular CV, badminton CV. And what always impressed me about this man was coming from Wales, not really in the sort of central setup in the UK, in the GP Olympic setup, and had to have a very tough winning mindset and mentality to come from a small country like Wales, like Ireland, and make it into the top 10 in the world. Truly impressive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to, just before I continue a little bit more on this person's bio, take a little snip from YouTube. You're going to hear this, our listeners are going to hear this little clip, hopefully now, if you can hear the shuttlecock playing in the background.
A grueling rally, and Sun Jun is pretty relieved to finally wrap up the opening game. 15 points to 10 after 23 minutes.
Yes.
And in fact, that was just about the end of it. Richard Vaughan from Llanbraddock putting up a tremendous performance there. I know it's so often easy to be sort of cynical about these things and say the plucky British player did well but went down. But he was playing the world champion there, and wasn't he playing well? Some of that skill there was absolutely spellbinding.
And thanks to technology, if anyone gets a chance to Google, as you heard, our guest Richard Vaughan, you want to see him in action. He's now the former CEO of Badminton Ireland, which he spent his time 2011 to 2015. He's also former CEO of Squash Ireland from 2000. Squash Ireland, am I saying that right? Let me just check my notes. I think it's Squash Australia there. So from 2011 to 2000. And it's from 2015 to 2020. Currently director of the Sports Consultancy in Queensland in Australia, and presently the non-executive director of Equestrian Australia and Badminton Europe. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. We would like to welcome and thank the one and only Richard Vaughan to our Badminton Talk podcast. Hello, Richard. How are you doing?
Good morning, and I don't think I've had a better intro than that. I think we did miss the, I think it was 1995 Thomas Cup, Wales Ireland, where Mark gave me a bit of a whooping in the men's doubles. But apart from that, it was a very good introduction. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Richard. But Richard, what a track record in badminton and sport. You're still only 42 years of age. You're bloody young.
I feel a lot older, if that helps. How's that? No, it's been a good fast couple of years in sport administration, and my time in Ireland, it didn't even feel like 12 months, and I'd say the same in Australia with squash, it's kind of flown by really in both roles. So, looking at what comes next as such, and I'm being kept busy with a few directorships and some consultancy in the meantime, which is all good as well.
Excellent. Mark, you have a question there? Richard, you were born in Wales in a place called Clanbrasher Capelia, and I'm not pronouncing that even correctly. How do you pronounce that?
It's a lot easier than you make it sound. It's Zambrata.
Zambrata.
Yeah, you're going to get the L's and the at the end, and then it's easy then, so yeah.
Whereabouts in Wales is that, Richard?
Just at the start of the valleys, kind of outside of Cardiff. So about 30 minutes from Cardiff. So very much a kind of a valleys town and school and former coal mining sort of area.
Mm. Very good, very good.
Yeah, some really strong up and coming juveniles I know from Wales at the moment. But Richard, how do you get yourself from Wales to Australia, which is 9,550 miles away? If you don't mind me asking before we start our questioning, just a curious one. When I googled it, I thought 10,000 miles away. How does that happen?
Well, I think. Look, Wales is no secret. It rains a lot. There's a little bit of rain in Ireland as well during my 4 years. So it was just really looking at a bit of a different challenge of where to next and different roles. And I think both myself and my wife fancy some sun in Australia and Brisbane, where we're based. A role came up just totally coincidentally. Approached by an agency around that role, and we thought specifically to the Commonwealth Games in 2018 that it would be a nice break, shall we say, and kind of one thing led to another.
Yeah, I can imagine looking out the window here in Dublin at the moment, and it's into minus territory, and Australia being a sporting paradise. And what an illustrious career to date you've had. You're in the sport of badminton, squash, equestrian. I assume badminton is your first love always and always. Would that be right, Richard? Want to put you on the spot there?
Yeah, no, of course. And it's nice to always be able to come back to badminton, be it the podcast or the Badminton Europe work with the European Training Centre and a few other projects. It's always really nice to come back to badminton. And typically with some of these sports, they're probably not some of my talents. For example, equestrian. I'm also a non-executive director at Artistic Swimming Australia, which is synchronized swimming. So it's fair to say I wouldn't be very good at that either, but it's nice to be able to have a mix of different sports and, kind of a bit of development for me, but I can help the sports in lots of ways as well.
Yeah, and Richard, just to say, because our listeners all around the world, and hopefully many from Australia as well as Europe, China, etc., we're all going through this, pandemic, which hopefully, as we were saying off air before we came on, is going to finally, lockdown 3 is it. But I noticed at the 2004 Summer Olympics, you contacted a virus similar to glandular fever, which must have played a part in your preparation for Athens back there. Would that be correct?
Yeah, it was a glandular fever type thing, toxoplasmosis, and same type of effect, and I had to play with that. So that was not the best experience. I actually had quite a good draw as well, which was annoying. Nice. But I did. I did well considering, and in sport you have the ups and downs, and that was something in the middle, I think, really. Fortunately or unfortunately, I lost to Shung Se Mo from Korea, who got a silver medal then. So
that's not
made it look a bit better. So but previous to that, I'd played him once and I'd won once. So you always fancy your chances, should we say?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, but look, I think playing with injuries or illness as a top athlete is part of the course, really. So you've got to be able to kind of manage that.
So look, the topic of conversation that we asked Richard, and thanks to Richard, he's volunteered his time to come on this podcast. The topic is a winning mindset. So Richard, are you ready to chat to us about a winning mindset?
I will try, and I will defer to Mark when I can't answer the question.
Well, let me ask you, Mark. Mark, are you ready to question Richard on a winning mindset?
Absolutely, John.
Is there a secret to a winning mindset? All I'm asking is a yes or no at this stage. I'm not asking you to...
No, I give a no. I give a no.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll explain a little bit more why later.
Okay.
I'll explain a little bit more why later.
Okay. Well, now I think of athletes such as Federer, Djokovic, Borg when it comes to tennis. I think of Katie Taylor when it comes to boxing. I think of Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus when it comes to golf. When it comes to squash, I think, I can't pronounce his name, Jahangir Khan. He won 6 world championships. I even think of snooker, Davis, Henry, O'Sullivan. What makes them number one? What kind of mindset do they have? And then, of course, in our own sport of badminton, Lin Dan, Lee Chong Wei, Caroline Marin, Tai Shi Ying, Victor Ackerson, up-and-coming Anderson, who just seems to be about to nail the number one spot, and Peter Gator. Is there a secret? Now, Richard, you think no, so we're going to now question you on all of that. Mark, over to you.
Brilliant, John. Am I allowed to talk?
Yeah, sorry. Now you can. Okay.
John, wow, thank you so much. In fairness to you, John, you do so much research to prepare for these podcasts. It's so impressive your hard work you put in. Thank you, John, for doing that. And again, thank you to Richard Vaughan for joining us this morning. All the way from warm Australia while we're freezing here in Dublin.
Have you got a question, Mark?
Mighty easterly wind. Yeah, let's go. Question number 1. Richard, what are the key ingredients to a winning mindset? And of course, I'm referring to the winning mindset for a sports athlete if they want to excel and reach their maximum potential. How does the mind have to behave? Are players simply born with a great winning mindset? What's your response? And what do you think of this concept of a winning mindset?
Yeah, look, I think it is. So going back to the first question, I just don't think it's so much of a secret. I think a lot of it's really documented in business or sport, and it's a bit like any business, really. It's really about having a real clear vision and what the athlete wants to get from that sport. What do they want to achieve? I think once you've got that vision and it's quite clear, it's easier to put a business plan in place underneath it and put all the strategies in place to be able to manage that success. And I think that as in business, the most successful people are really problem solvers. They're not, should we say, problem makers. So, there's always challenges, be it location or, no coach or club or injury. And those type of people find solutions to those challenges most of the time. So it's really about, I guess, being excellent in kind of life, not just sport. So you see those type of successful people are able to transfer that into their careers or around or after sport as well. So, the type of thing is, the little things really, being healthy, being coachable, listening to a coach, being knowledgeable, kind of searching for those extra pieces of information, behaving well, maximizing kind of opportunity, looking for that feedback and evaluation and being able to take that information in and apply it. So that's what I mean by coachability. So, that's a real big piece. Talent helps, but it isn't everything. So it's really that ability to develop that champion mindset. So I really do think it's something that you can develop by working on every day in whatever you do, and sport is just a step in terms of the athlete's life. So it's really about using sport as part of the journey, so that they have that that champion mindset, winning mindset in life. And then you need some other factors, which I think you touched on. With some of the players there, you need to have good coaches, you need to have world-class training environments, you need to have everything else around you. If you're just talented and you don't have that winning mindset, then you be Lindan or Peter Gator. Likewise, if you don't have that environment, but you have that champion mindset, then hopefully you can make it top 10 in the world, and you can do things around the sport as well. So I think it's quite a complicated piece with lots of different facets, but the winning mindset and that excellence is kind of a mindset around how you do and what you do in life every day.
Yeah, Richard, that is brilliant. Thank you for that. A couple of things I take away from that right away is I'm very interested in your little piece on you're not a problem maker, you're a problem solver. I think that's wonderful. And then the other bit that I think is really important personally is that being able to listen and being coachable, really listening to coaches, listening to people to try and learn as much as you can. I think that's so crucial to that bit. Yeah, I love that problem solver. That is an excellent way to put it.
What do you feel?
I think that, I was just going to say that nobody's situation is the same as anybody else's. Be it the different opportunities you're afforded through different situations. So what you can control is what you can control, and I think that winning mindset is something that you can control.
Yeah, I was just trying to categorize, Richard, what you were saying there about some of the elements there, because I always remember coaches saying, you have 5 key components that make up, the winners. You have to. It's tactical, it's technical, it's nutritional. It's physical and it's mental. In a sense, all those are the 5, if you could say, pillars. I think pillars look 4, but let's imagine there's a 5th pillar somewhere. And I was always kind of hearing, you can get the tactical, as you said, if your students of badminton are willing to take in the information, you can work on them all. Of the technical. There's no excuse for nutrition or physical, but mental is something that is questionable. Some players, do they have it or do they not? You see a lot of junior players, they just never become the quality when they move into senior, and a lot of coaches tend to jump in and say it's mental. You slightly disagree with that?
Oh no, look, I think what you're looking at there is the end product, and it's really peeling back the layers and looking at why they are the way they are. So I was lucky to have a good family environment. So these things are partly genetic, partly environmental. So you've really, I think, peel back the layers, and that's part of the growing list of things a coach has got to do is work out why players are like they are, and sometimes these things can go back years, and try to encourage that mindset. And then look, I have seen players change and people develop those mindsets, and some players that you call off the rails have totally turned that around, and so it does change. It doesn't happen. It can be a slow process and something that you have to really understand and know where the players come from. Because as I said, it's environmental. It can be somewhat genetic as well, and it can be a complicated one. But I do think you can control that and develop that as well.
Okay, wow, Richard, what a start there, Mark. Just moving on to our next question, Richard, related, very similar. Someone who knows all about competing and who got to, the business, the close end of in the Olympics in Sydney and Athens. Plus, you had silver and bronze at the European Championships and Commonwealth Games in badminton. Well, with big congrats on that. I mean, for you on a personal level, with your great achievements, and anybody that's interested, you should look up Richard Vaughan and see his achievements. How much significance did maybe I'll say a positive winning mindset play in reaching these great achievements, these great targets that you got during your playing badminton career?
Oh, look, I think, pretty essential. I go back again. I think having that real clear vision on what you want to achieve is like the why, as in business, the why, what, when. Yeah. So the why you're playing really is pretty key. If you see some children playing because of parents or because they want to play in a group, or for me, it was definitely I always played because I wanted to be the best I could be, world champion or win things. So I think I wouldn't say specifically it was a particular tournament. It was being able to be the best I could be within that. So then I had all of my drivers as such were internal and able to control them, and obviously the environment around me was very supportive as well. But even in that instance, I had lots of challenges. In Wales, there wasn't a great system. There were some good people in the system that could help. And then to get from a Welsh level to European level is quite a big jump. So then you're having to find people that can help with that. So there's challenges and problems all the way along, shall we say? And I think that's where that problem solver piece and that having plan A, B, C, D, and trying to work around that's pretty essential. But without that vision and the knowing what you want to achieve, I think it can be really hard work, because it is hard work. Everybody's situation is hard work. So before you start, it's hard work. So you have to have the right why to start with. And then when you're working in sports administration, especially in performance, I guess you're always trying to look at that next step, which is, you try to make sure the athletes have the why and the vision, but you're trying to create the pathway for them to get from A, B, C, D, which is frequently missing for lots of players. So the hard bit can be the players visualizing how they get from A to B. So in terms of running an association or a performance program, you're trying to put things in place that allow athletes to transition through those kind of stages so that they can get that medal of success.
Yep. Mark, you have a question. Next question.
Yes.
Thanks for that, Richard.
Yeah, no, that is really brilliant, Richard. What's coming across to me is this why question, this vision that you have to get anywhere. You need to be very clear what you want to achieve, and that's what's coming across to me in this interview. It's just brilliant content. Thank you, Richard. And I suppose my next question is, I coach a lot of juveniles, and to any juveniles listening to this podcast, you've brought out an awful lot, but you're probably going to repeat a lot of this, but what advice would you give to a young teenage badminton player who maybe is making some good progress on this subject about winning mindset? Richard?
Yeah, I think the key thing is everybody's different and everybody's situation is different. So it really has to be somewhat prescriptive to the individual. So that can be the mindset piece, but also like individual training programs, on-court, off-court, the volume. So it's really looking at that individual, and if I was a coach, work out what are the best, what's different about that individual and what's going to best work for them. And if you're the individual, it's really then going back to the why you're playing, what do you want to achieve, breaking down goals into the short, medium, longer term, and building kind of strategies from getting from these different goals in place. And then I think when you're that strategic and you're that focused, you do then develop that kind of problem-solving mentality, and getting over the challenges along that path gives you a level of resilience as well.
Could I just hold this for 1 sec? And there we had to stop Richard Vaughan on this wonderful Badminton Talk podcast, of course, brought to you by the Q Shuttle and sponsored by My Mobile Badminton Shop. Mark, we are out of time for yet another week.
Yes, indeed, John. Just brilliant to listen to a former top 10 player and the mindset that he has. Live and learn, listen and learn. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely fascinating stuff. And of course, all of this is going to kick off again in another week's time, when we will bring you part 2 of our Badminton Talk podcast with the one and only Richard Vaughan. That's it, Mark, for now. Doing anything special this weekend?
I think a lot of hiking the mountains. Up the mountains, John. What are you doing?
Hiking the mountains. I think I'm just going to do the walk in the park. That's it, Mark.
Good man.
See you next week.
See you, John.